Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain an American slasher horror film from 2019, titled Trick. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. In 2015 in Benton, New York, high school senior Patrick Weaver, also known as Trick, is playing a game of spin the bottle at a Halloween party with his classmates. Instead of a bottle, they're using a knife with words carved on opposite sides of the handle, and when it's Trick's turn, the knife points to a guy. The group starts teasing Trick, telling him to kiss the guy, but instead, Trick grabs the knife and stabs the guy to death. Panic breaks out as Trick begins attacking other partygoers, stabbing his classmates, and despite their attempts to fight back, Trick overpowers several of them. The chaos ends when one of the teens manages to stab Trick with a fire poker, and when his mask is removed, Trick simply smiles at them. At the hospital, Sheriff Lisa Jane and Detective Mike Denver arrive to investigate the massacre, which left 5 teens dead. One of the survivors, Cheryl Winston, tells them she has no idea why Trick snapped, describing him as a quiet kid who often helped others with their homework. The police enter Trick's hospital room where he is restrained, and Detective Mike asks Lisa to get someone to clean the Halloween paint off Trick's face. Mike tries to persuade Trick into talking, but the teenager grabs him, flipping the hospital bed and breaks his cuffs. As Trick escapes through the hospital, he grabs a surgical tool and continues his killing spree. Mike and Lisa chase him and Trick takes Cheryl hostage. However, Cheryl fights back, giving the officers a chance to shoot Trick multiple times, causing him to fall out of the window. However, when Mike and Lisa go outside to check, they discover that Trick is missing. They follow a trail of blood that leads to the Hudson River, and Sheriff Lisa concludes that Trick drowned in the river and is dead. During police interviews, Troy, the football team captain, admits he stabbed Trick with the fire poker. However, the students provide conflicting descriptions of Trick's appearance. The investigation raises more questions when it's revealed that no one has ever met Trick's parents. His registered address turns out to be an abandoned dockyard, and the two-faced pumpkin mask he wore at the party mysteriously disappears from the evidence locker. Mike remains unconvinced that Trick is dead since his body was never found, and he begins to suspect that Trick might have survived, possibly through supernatural means. However, Lisa decides to close the case, firmly believing Trick drowned in the Hudson River. In 2016, during a high school Halloween dance, 2 students encounter a figure wearing a white demon mask. The masked figure brutally attacks and kills them in the hallway. Moments later, a teacher discovers the bodies but is also attacked and killed by the same masked figure before he can escape for help. In 2017, more bodies are found at a Halloween party in Hudson Village, and the killings convince Mike that Trick has returned. By now, Trick has gained infamy in the media, becoming a figure of morbid fascination. Locals begin to believe he is a supernatural being who reappears every Halloween season to wreak havoc. On October 30, 2018, at a bar, Mike shares his theory with fellow FBI agents Sam Swift and Christina Mendez. He insists that Trick is behind the string of murders during Halloween over the past few years, and Mike believes Trick has been systematically moving his killings further down the Hudson River each year. However, Sam and Christina are skeptical, pointing out that Trick was declared dead years ago. They argue that it's impossible for someone presumed dead to continue such a spree. Adding to their doubt is the forensic evidence. DNA found on the masks worn by the killers in recent years is different each time, suggesting multiple perpetrators. Brooke, the bartender, overhears the conversation and suggests that the murders might not be Trick's work at all but rather the work of a copycat, or possibly a group of copycats, imitating the original killer. Swift excuses himself to use the bathroom, unaware that a masked assailant is watching him, and the attacker strikes, rendering Swift unconscious. Moments later, Christina receives a photo on her phone showing Swift tied to a chair with a pumpkin mask on his head. She and Mike rush outside the bar, where they find Swift trapped in an elaborate contraption, and the setup is rigged so that if they fail to act in time, Swift will be beheaded. Despite their efforts to save Swift, their attempt fails when the masked assailant suddenly appears and pulls a cord, which trigger the mechanism, and Swift is decapitated before their eyes. In the chaos, Christina loses her fingers. After tendering to her injuries, Christina runs to their car to call for backup, but the masked assailant ambush and stab her. Hearing Christina's cries, Mike rushed to help her. He spots the masked figure standing near the bar and gives chase but loses him in the darkness. Suddenly, the assailant reappears and brutally stabs Christina to death, and devastated by the deaths of his fellow agents, Mike breaks down. The tragedy results in him being blamed for the failed mission, which lead to his dismissal from the FBI. The scene shifts to Cheryl Winston, the sole survivor of the 2015 attack, arriving at a diner to meet her friend Nikki, a former high school classmate who works there. While catching up, Cheryl encounters Mike, who reveals he is planning to leave the city following his dismissal from the FBI after the deaths of agents Swift and Christina. Disillusioned and grieving, Mike tells Cheryl he has decided to let go of Trick's case, believing it's time to move on. On October 30, 2019, Sheriff Lisa Jane and her deputies, Juan, Slater, Green, and Iris Reddick, investigate a gruesome crime scene, and to their shock, they discover Mike's name written in blood at the scene. Disturbed by the implications, they inform Mike, which draws his reluctant attention back to the case. Meanwhile, Cheryl visits her bedridden father at the hospital, who recently suffered a mysterious fall from a factory roof. Dr. Stephen informs Cheryl that her father's insurance claim has been denied, leaving her worried about his care. As Cheryl talks to the doctor, her father sees an ominous face appearing on the TV screen, but he is unable to communicate the terrifying vision to Cheryl or the doctor. Meanwhile, at a cemetery, Mike receives a text message on his phone that he doesn't recall sending, and the message was sent to Deputy Green. As he examines it, he is startled by a masked man he believes to be Trick. Mike gives chase through the cemetery, but Trick manages to escape. Mike calls Sheriff Lisa to warn her about the fake text messages, and Lisa tries to contact Deputy Green, but it's too late. Green has already gone to investigate an old crane barge on her own. While searching the area, Green discovers a decrepit shed filled with satanic symbols and disturbing drawings. As she steps inside to investigate further, she unknowingly activates a hidden booby trap, which injures her, and moments later, Lisa arrives at the scene and rushes to help Green. As they make their way back to Lisa's car, they spot Trick lurking nearby, and Green fires at him, successfully holding Trick off long enough to reach the car. However, just as they prepare to drive away, Trick uses a crane to swing a massive gravestone into the windshield on Green's side, killing her instantly. Lisa narrowly escapes but is left horrified by the loss of her deputy. Later that night, the FBI arrives to investigate the scene, and Lisa notes that the gravestone belongs to Agent Christina Mendez, whom Trick had murdered the previous year. Meanwhile, a group of teens including Troy and his friend Johnny, head to a church fundraiser. The event is hosted by diner owner Mr. Talbot, who entertains the locals with a horror movie marathon inside the church, and a haunted maze outside. Upon their arrival, Troy and his friends hatch a plan to sneak in without paying. After buying a single ticket, Troy enters the theater and opens the back door to let his friends in. However, Talbot catches them in the act, and forces them to pay their way in. Elsewhere, Mike and Lisa visit Cheryl's former house, the site of the 2015 Halloween party where the massacre took place. Inside, they discover a strange symbol etched on a door and find disturbing evidence that Trick had recently been there.
Your windows and doors were alarmed.
Concerned, Lisa radios for backup, and deputies Juan and Slater arrive to assist, and Lisa discovered someone has stolen Mike's SUV. At the church, Deputy Reddick radios Mike and Lisa, reporting that she has found Mike's stolen SUV parked outside. However, she catches a glimpse of Trick and immediately gives chase. Moment later, Lisa and Mike arrives and find Reddick dead at the fire escape, and Lisa radios the other deputies, urging them to stay on high alert. Meanwhile, Cheryl and Nikki take her younger siblings, Janice and Greg, to the haunted maze outside the church for some Halloween fun. As they explore, they are startled by an actor wearing a pig mask, and unbeknownst to them, Trick is also in the maze, disguised with skull makeup and a black hoodie. As the maze grows busier with Halloween revelers, Trick begins murdering several scare actors in brutal fashion, creating chaos and panic. Arriving at the maze, Mike spots Trick and chases him through the dark corridors. He eventually reunites with Cheryl, Nikki and the kids, just as Trick attacks Nikki, and before Trick can finish her off, Mike shoots him in the arm, forcing him to retreat. Cheryl urgently tells Troy and his friends, who happen to bump into them, that Trick has returned, but Troy dismisses her warning, thinking it's just part of the Halloween scare. As terrified patrons evacuate the maze, Mike instructs Cheryl to take Nikki, Janice, and Greg to the hospital, before going to meet Lisa. Now fully aware of Trick's presence, Mr. Talbot arms himself with a shotgun and joins forces with Lisa to search for the killer. While Lisa keeps an eye on the people inside the church, Mr. Talbot spots Trick in the projection booth and he moves in to confront the masked killer. However, before he can pull the trigger, Trick launches a brutal attack, overpowering and killing him. Lisa rushes to the booth upon hearing the commotion but is ambushed by Trick. She fights back but is quickly overpowered, only for Mike to arrive in time to intervene, causing Trick to flee. Believing Trick's next target is Troy, the detectives track him down and warn him of the danger, and they suspect Trick wants revenge for being stabbed with the fireplace poker in 2015.